Can't read it, it's anonymous. You see that already? Harvey Greenwald.
He's a new guy.
He's a new guy. He's a new guy. He just came out of Paris. He witnessed Notre Dame burning. And he came back to our own firestorm. Would you grace us, sir? This man is a lot of fun, and I love his writing. All right, just schlep over here.
God, that's bright. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, can you? I don't know.
And
Yes.
have fun, stretch.
Yes. I wouldn't mind to pick something else. Who knows? I hope you're not in a rush. To wait. The wheat from the chaff. How to separate, not to need. Understand the need of form. To understand the appropriate in time and place. This happened there once again and again. Could be again and again and again. Forever is. Not a respecter of men. The gatekeepers of edifices are serving penance on what was. The next one is called One Serpent. This was to a friend of mine who's now no longer on the planet. Walking to the house, looking up into the deep cloudless blue, very high I saw two vultures circling. One was not a vulture, but a hawk of equal size. Close and moving together, one looking for life, the other death. For motion and stillness, abandoned to form. From the height, great distance could be seen. Each propelled to their need, separating and disappearing in different directions. When I woke this morning, my thoughts were of you, your cold, crystalline way of observing and describing. Its only lacking was the warmth of light, and struck with your loss of voice, you grabbed my arm in silence. Your eyes, our eyes, spoke. The next one is called The Door. To move forward, to do strictly, with taking care of each thing as they arise, as presented. Time is not the element for what is given to the babe is given to the gray-haired old. If in my years I stand that way, who can refuse me the door to the Creator? I think I'll read an adult children's story, which is something I've never read, which is actually quite old. It's called The Short History of the Would-Be's and the R's. A long time ago, perhaps the day after tomorrow, on a planet which had not quite been born, there lived two tribes, the R's, as they were called, and the Would-Be's. Of course, there were other tribes, most of lesser significance. Now the R's were a very interesting group. For that matter, so were the Would-Be's in their own way. Since I've been told A comes before W, we shall start with the R's. There were Ahas in all different walks of life, from the highest to the lowest, from the biggest to the smallest, from the meanest to the kindest. This may seem confusing to anyone not familiar with them, and I shall try my best to remedy the situation. Perhaps their most definite characteristic was that at a certain age, which I had been told was approximately 7 1/3 years, they became whatever they were to become. We must at this point allow for some exceptions. Certain R's became at a much younger age, even as early as conception, which presented no small problem for the expectant mother. This was very often the case among geniuses and idiots. At other ends, we have the R's, referred to late starters. They were the ones who started much later, anywhere from 7 1/3 on up. The R's showed great concern over late starters. They were liable to go either way, and often did. Some even would become would-be's. It's amazing to think of a tribe with such diversification, and all members content with their lot. Proud parents would get together and speculate what their offspring would become, and since there was nothing they could do about it, whatever did happen made them truly happy. Large parties were given by the parents on the day of their child's realization, except, of course, in the case of the premature exceptions. These parties were postponed until a later date. No matter what the financial state of the family, which fluctuated greatly among the R's, from generation to generation, no expense was spared. And as was the custom at these becoming parties, one of the parents would make a traditional speech. Today, I would like to announce that my son has become a thief, or street sweeper, or scientist, or whatever the girl or boy had become. The speech was always followed by applause. They were truly happy people. This could not be said for the would-be's. The would-be's were a far more hostile and aggressive tribe than the R's. It could even be said that they were warlike in the sense that they would have made wars. Of course, this was impossible. They were a tribe of leaders, at least this is what they fancied themselves. Therefore, they had no leaders. This, to the perceptive reader, may appear as a contradiction. In this case, it's not the case at all. Many attempts had been made organizing at least once a generation. All met with failure. First, small groups were formed, then these would converge in an attempt to make a larger body. Invariably, this led to intergroup fighting, which finally led to every man for himself type situation. These battles were viewed with great dismay by the R's, who naturally couldn't understand what the whole thing was about. To be born a would-be was to be born wanting something you couldn't be. Naturally, they also had their exceptions. If a would-be reached a point where he or she ceased wanting to be something they weren't, they were open to the scorn of their community. The word community is used here in one of its more liberal definitions. As was the case quite often, the family of the misfit would promptly disown them. Lack of ambition was intolerable. Because of their nature, the would-be's were rarely either rich or poor. Their lives always fluctuated at some level of the middle. The rarities only took place among the outcasts. They were likely to taste wealth or poverty, most often the latter. It may appear to the reader that the only happiness in the lot of a would-be was derived by its outcasts, but this is not so. We humans have a natural tendency to side with the rebellious underdog, especially when a situation is adverse to our own liking. Being an historian, I cannot allow myself these pitfalls of self-indulgence. Most of the unfortunate castaways lived a short, guilt-ridden lives, and many died by their own hand, whereas the normal would-be's had much longer life expectancy. They were genuinely happy in their own miserable way. To picture a civilization formed of would-be's and R's is most often extremely difficult to people such as ourselves who are accustomed to freedom of choice, or if I may use the time-honored cliche, masters of our own fate. But as we are what we are, by our very natures, so are they by theirs. Their society thrived for many centuries until its destruction. This I shall discuss at a later point. Let us now consider ourselves with how these unlike bodies integrated in such a manner which promoted a positive economic situation attuned to the predestination characteristics of both. Since the would-be's could not be what they wanted to be, they relied on the R's to fill the positions of their aspirations. It is my personal opinion that the would-be's wanted to be dependent directly on what the R's of that time were becoming. This view has brought about a wrath and criticism from my fellow historians who maintained the Woodbys would have wanted to be what they couldn't be regardless as to what the R's were becoming. The reader must decide for himself which stand is more valid. Perhaps the best way to get this complex structure into view is the use of a graph. The R's are at the top and the bottom, the exceptions are on the sides, and the Woodbys are in the middle. This graph has been proven accurate no matter what field of endeavors have been applied to. For centuries, this civilization prospered, and then a strange phenomenon took place. All the R's of a generation became writers, and the economy faltered. And with the becoming of the next generation, the bottom fell out. As for the Woodbys, there were none left who could remember wanting to be anything other than a writer, so that the only course left open was that of wanting to be the aforesaid. The civilization of nothing but writers shall not remain a civilization, so wrote a would-be misfit in a letter which it was my good fortune to discover. Famine and sickness, a great deal of the mental variety, swept the land. The crops failed not because of poor soil or adverse climate, but for lack of being planted to begin with. Clothing became scarce, since all manufacturing had ceased. It was common to see people on the street wearing nothing but the pages of their latest manuscript. Paper and other writing material became scarce. This necessitated a state of thievery, which set the scene for many a murder. With everybody writing, there was no longer a market, and the only way one might have something read was by setting up what was called, unusually enough, a friendship. Example, I'll read yours if you read mine. If a participant of a friendship failed to uphold his part of agreement, he was promptly dealt with by his associate. The burning of manuscripts was the most common form of retribution, and if the party concerned happened to be wearing his writing, it was most unfortunate. With this society already in the twilight stages, the final blow came. A tribe called the nuns invaded. They were met absolutely by no opposition. In fact, many R's and Woodbys aided them in seeking out and destroying the writings of others. From the time of the nuns' occupation, very little is known of what happened to the Woodbys and R's, and nothing at all was known about the nuns, of which nothing was known to begin with. The only available information was obtained from exceptions, both Woodbys and R's, who upon the occupation, the nuns placed into exile, having nothing, absolutely no use for